why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in education my whole career. So taught in Western Colorado, South America, then landed at TCA for 13 years, I think.
13?
Yeah. Started at the beginning of TCA, which is pretty cool because I mean, now it's like nationally recognized school. Like it's no joke. Still have friends, still have, colleagues there that are still teaching there. So Reed and Knuth and all those guys. So then jumped over to higher ed, and that's where we saw each other. I got to do my PhD there, which was actually a real process. That'll come out in my story probably a little bit as we talk.
Okay.
Because that's always been like a super big idol for me.
Has it been?
Yeah. I had to really get my thinking in line and get my thinking straight to do it for the right reasons, as opposed to, 3 letters after your name, which is a pretty terrible reason to do something, right?
I agree with that.
So, but I was able to do that with a pretty good mindset, had a good time doing it. So got my doctorate in kind of data analytics, educational research. Thought I'd like to do higher ed. Higher ed's a hard place to get a gig. So,
yes, it is.
So jumped over back to K-12 in Colorado Springs School District 11 here in town. And I run the data and analytics team for the district.
That's cool.
Yeah, I get to do a bunch of number crunching and answering questions in ways that people aren't always able to answer for themselves. Yeah. So it's I feel very blessed to be there.
That's cool.
Because my team, the team that I get to lead, I feel like we are using data in very humane ways. It's not always like when you think about a mean and a standard deviation, it's not a warm and fuzzy feeling, right? And especially among educators, it's kind of been a weapon.
Absolutely.
And so taking on a goal to not make it a weapon, make it a tool. There's one way to know your students. There are other ways to know it as well. So let's just do this together.
Practically, what does that look like? Like, I'm trying to picture that because I immediately go test scores, right? Like,
that's part of it. That's a big part of it. That is a big part of it because that's what the state expects. So we have these state mandated pieces that are test scores.
Of course.
But we work primarily with principals and then their teams of lead teachers.
Okay.
To take their test scores, and some test scores are more valuable than others. Right. So the state test score, not the most helpful thing, right? Because it's like it's just for all different reasons. I could talk for hours about this. I will spare you.
Okay.
But we have some other ways of like helping teams in schools really kind of create a breadcrumb trail, waypoints. To see how their students are doing.
That's good.
And in a district like D11, there's high poverty rates.
Yep.
We have a fair amount of homeless families.
Yep.
We have a big influx of new to the country families. And it's, within just my calling, I feel like honored to be able to give those families a voice in some way.
That's cool.
To say, hey, we really need to watch what we're doing with these families because they're not going to be speaking up for themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And so we really monitor we call them our subpopulations, our different groups of families.
Yeah. To
be, doing serving them well.
That's good.
It's cool. Yeah, it's all kind of a big wraparound of my own story. So Khaliqi, Khaliqi.
We would know.
Most, it's not a sick baby, but it's my dad. My dad immigrated from Afghanistan and he became a citizen in 1974. So I'm like a first generation immigrant, and I did not grow up Afghan. It's very typical for this to happen. Like, your dad comes over, he's like, we're American now. And we're doing McDonald's, we're doing like the whole deal. So that's how I grew up, but it still has really infused, I think, all of me and my siblings. I have a brother and a sister with this notion of like, being aware of the, the more vulnerable in our population, like giving, like the story of our country, which is so cool. Like, does it happen well all the time? Absolutely not. There's problems. Right. But the core story of our problem is that some dude can come from Afghanistan, get a great job. Yep. And his one son ends up an actual helpful doctor, medical doctor. The other son ends up with less than helpful, but anyway, PhD. I mean, it's just, that's the story, right?
Yeah.
And you can come from anywhere and put in that work and do your thing. Yeah. And good things happen. I'm just, it hurts me to hear that narrative being like undermined in some ways in our culture. I think it kind of goes back to what you guys are talking about with what does it mean to be a man
Yep.
and lead your family in very difficult circumstances. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, as an immigrant, you come and you leave everything. Like you literally leave everything and you start over.
Yeah.
And so that was the model for me, was how do you do that? I mean, there's no excuses. Like you do what you need to do.
That's hard.
And here we are. So
when this silent, you'll be alone, far from friends in life. You'll spend your evenings getting stoned to numb the ache inside.